Jimmy Dore was a right winger and a grifter because I interviewed a Boogaloo boy. Meanwhile, he interviewed David Duke. Nobody, I guess he still got to be a lefty, but he's not a lefty. He's a union buster and he's pro-war and he's pro-censorship. That's the and he's pro-big pharma. Right? He didn't have one critique of the COVID narrative. So that's the opposite of a lefty. Cenk Uyghur's an authoritarian and he's illiberal. He's not part of the liberal class. People who call themselves liberal today are not liberal. They're illiberal.
Jimmy Dore talks about Kasparian, Cenk Uyghur from the Young Turks show, and Dore is going off on Kasparian and Cenk, where Dore expresses the details and what he says is the lies from the Young Turks. Now, the fact of the matter is, Dore himself used to be a part of the Young Turks until they had a big disagreement and everything. It was huge back then, years ago. And then Dore got his own show on YouTube as well as Rumble, and Kasparian, who is now an independent, has broken ties with the Democrats and stuff as well as the left. So here's Jimmy Dore talking about Kasparian and Uyghur, about the issues that they're talking about and the things that Kasparian and Cenk are spreading. So if you enjoyed what you're sharing in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, so that way you're notified of future uploads and updates. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
About this a bit today. So this was the tweet that started it all. On the 29th, Cenk Uyghur was overwhelmed with optimism. I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election, even though I was so against the guy who won. I know now. MAGA is not my mortal enemy. Enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. It's not just...
Is it the same establishment you took $20 million from? You mean that establishment? One of the top donors in the Democrat Party? You mean one of the guys, one of the most rich, most powerful owners of establishment corporate media, Jeffrey Katzenberg? You mean that's your enemy? Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, maybe he's out of money. Maybe he's his enemy now. Maybe they ran it out. Yeah, that's it. No more use to him. It's not just that the establishment candidate lost. It's that their media is mortally wounded. The source of their strength was not insipid politicians like Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden. The source of their strength was their propaganda machine, the mainstream media. Now, online media is strong enough that their oppressive monopoly on the American mind has been broken. Now we're in the jungle. They hate that. I love it.
This is hilarious.
Oh, you haven't read this thread yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was the thing that kicked it all off. This uncontrolled marketplace of ideas is where I'm home. I'd rather be in the populist woods than an establishment prison. So Megan Murphy, I don't know who this is, says, I've never seen anyone jump ship faster. Shortly after Kamala lost. Gunther Eagleman, this is a MAGA account here. They haven't been defeated, and for you to assume that shows your naive nature. They still have a stronghold in the Senate, which you still ignore. You have trashed Trump and MAGA for years. Stay in your lane and accept that you and yours suffered an embarrassing defeat, Cenk. So, yeah, that's the MAGA crowd that's not buying it. And then this is one of the big lib accounts, Joe. Obeying in advance. People warned me you'd do this, and here you are. So, really getting it from all sides, as you could have predicted. Mike Benz was ambivalent. Based? Question mark? I like that. I like that one. Maybe. Well, let's see. What do you think, Jimmy? Based or not based? Because this was the tweet that you put out. You quote tweeted a later tweet here, because obviously Cenk got a lot of pushback to this, and a couple weeks later he says, some folks on the left seem to genuinely think that just talking to the MAGA right wing is evil.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah. You're the guy who did that. You pushed that for years and years, since 2016. They called me a right winger because I didn't look at the MAGA supporters as my enemy. I looked at my enemy as the establishment, and that they want us to be divided, just like Cenk Uyghur did and Kasparian at the Young Turks. And when I brought on a Boogaloo boy, who, by the way, we agreed with on at least 6 out of his 10 top issues. And why? And my whole thing was, I sell a T-shirt. Frederick Douglass said, I'll join with anyone to do good and no one to do bad. And that's been my message since at least 2016. They're not your enemy. They're your neighbor. And that's exactly divide and conquer. And they've been pushing that. They slandered me and smeared me for years because I wouldn't hate my neighbor, and I wouldn't pretend that my my mother-in-law, who's a wonderful person, was a teacher her whole life. Her students loved her. She's 100% Mexican, and she supported Donald Trump. And I'm like, well, that's when I knew. I'm like, well, what does it do? Hate my mother-in-law? I love my mother-in-law. She's a great woman. She loves me. She's a good Christian. And that's why she voted for Trump, because of abortion. That doesn't make her a bad person. And she hated the Clintons, which is what we bonded over, actually. So I was, again, 8 years ago, I was saying exactly what Cenk is saying, and it would be okay if Cenk came out. What you have to do is make a serious act of contrition. You have to come out and say, hey, you know what? I was the worst person. I did that. I demonized the right wing. I called them white supremacists. I called them all racist. I called them all sexist. There's a video where he even called them all pedophiles. He said that's why they're always talking about pedophilia, because they're all pedophiles. He said that.
Right.
He said he smeared anti-war journalists like Aaron Mate, said they're being paid by Russia. Everybody was a Russian. Everybody was a traitor to our country.
That's true. Cenk Uygur did say that and stuff, but Jimmy Dore is exposing the Young Turks and everything because of the fact that that back then they did say things that, you know, were disparaging, you know, like the established Democrats, but also against MAGA. But in reality, like Jimmy Dore is alluding here, that MAGA voters, as well as, you know, the non-establishment left wingers and stuff, they have something in common. They don't like Clinton. They also, you know, don't like the establishment and everything. They're united against the establishment. MAGA was against the establishment, you know, Republicans and establishment Democrats, and the far left people were also against the establishment left, as well as, you know, the establishment, you know, Republicans, but they call them, you know, corporate Democrats, corporate Republicans and stuff. And that's back then, that's the thing that Cenk Uygur and, you know, other people on the Young Turks and stuff, they didn't want to see that kind of unity. Matter of fact, they probably ignored it, you know, until, you know, this year after the elections, and then they saw how, you know, the Democrat Party became, and there's like a lot more mess that's going on right now. But the fact of the matter is, I've also seen this myself, where, you know, MAGA as well as the far leftists, they have this very same thing in common, where, you know, it's all about class warfare and stuff, us against them, as well as the fact that they don't care about, they're ignoring we're all ignoring the establishment.
Jimmy Dore was a right winger and a grifter, because I interviewed a Boogaloo Boy. Meanwhile, he interviewed David Duke. Nobody, I guess he still got to be a lefty, but he's not a lefty. He's a union buster, and he's pro-war, and he's pro-censorship. That's and he's pro-big pharma. Right? He didn't have one critique of the COVID narrative. So that's the opposite of a lefty. Cenk Uygur is an authoritarian, and he's illiberal. He's not part of the liberal class. People who call themselves liberal today are not liberal. They're illiberal. You can't be pro-war and you can't be pro-censorship, the hallmark of a dictator and authoritarianism, and you can't be for mandating medical treatments. And so they're the opposite of liberals. They're not liberals. They're illiberals. And so if he was genuine about this, he would start off with an admission that he was the worst purveyor of the thing he now claims to be against, demonizing Trump voters as their enemy. He was the worst who did that, constantly calling them fat. Up until 5 minutes before the election, he was calling them all fascists, including Trump. And then, so it's amazing how he's Trump's a fascist. We got to defeat MAGA. Those guys are. And then all of a sudden, Trump wins. He's like, we win.
Right.
How does that? You know, it'd be like if I was like, I
was with you guys the whole time.
Yeah, been with you there the whole time. Oh, these assholes on the far left. Oh boy. You know, they used to call him far left when he kind of tepidly supported Bernie Sanders until he couldn't wait to get rid of him and support Hillary Clinton. I was the last holdout for Bernie Sanders in 2016 at the Young Turks. But anyway, now he just apes the establishment. So he's just aping establishment talking points, calling people far left, calling people far right. And the right wing, a lot of them are sniffing him out. Matt Walsh didn't go along with it. He said, Cenk Uygur's been calling us fascist for 53 years. He's now 54. And now I'm supposed to think that his opinion is worth anything? He's been wrong his whole life. And so I'm with him on that. And there isn't a war that Cenk Uygur didn't like. Cenk Uygur was for the Iraq War before he was against it. He was for the Afghanistan War. He was for the expansion of the Afghanistan War. He was for the Libyan War. He was for the Syrian War. And he lied. He lied on television. He lied on the Hill, saying that he never was for bombing Syria. And there's a 10-minute video of me debating him about that, and he was for it. So he is one of the sleaziest media figures going. And there was good in Cenk Uygur, right? When I first started working with the Young Turks, there was good inside there. He would push back against the establishment. He was always pro-war. He finally, with Gaza, he finally fought a war that he doesn't support. It's like,
That's crazy. I did not know that about Cenk. And it seems to me that, Jimmy Dore here actually exposed Cenk in little less of Anna Kasparian and stuff. But the fact of the matter is he basically called out, Cenk as not being, consistent, not being genuine and everything. And he's more like a coddling with the establishment love. And as you heard him say at the beginning of the video, where he says that that they took like $20 million from the establishment and stuff. And the fact of the matter is that Anna Kasparian, we've seen that, she's broke out against the left as well as the Democrat establishment to the point where she decided to become an independent. So I'm believing that, Anna Kasparian is far more genuine and real than Cenk himself on the Young Turks. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have in this particular topic. If you enjoyed what was shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button, share the video for all our across social media. And if you ever done so already, enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Click the bell notifications so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Until then, peace.